Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for attending today's webinar, which is introducing Microsoft 365 Copilot Pages. Pages is a very cool, brand new way to interact with Copilot in a way that I think really improves workflow quite a bit. So I'm very excited to talk about this with you today. Thanks, Brad and Mike, people at VirtualIT, for allowing us to share this with you. We've got Dan St. Hilaire here as well, and he's available if people have questions. Please feel free to use that question panel, and we can help you out, even at the end if you'd like to unmute. We love to run these all the time. Today's a little bit different. We're talking about Copilot, but we're going to have a 30-minute time together. This will be kind of a quick introduction. I'm going to show you some really cool things that, as I mentioned, I think you'll like and hopefully will help with your workflow. Some of the topics I want to talk about today include the following. Basically, what is Copilot Pages? Many of you have used Copilot before. Some of you were maybe thinking about using it. This would be actually a really good consideration if you're on the fence about using Copilot yet. Pages is a way for us to basically take what we're interacting with Copilot and make it into an interactive, editable canvas. And it lives within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, but it starts in Copilot Chat. So I'm going to show you how we can use those, edit them right in the Copilot environment, but also do things like generate new things within that page, how we can format it in certain ways. And really what happens is it becomes a loop, as in a loop component. So you could use that real-time collaboration with others in conjunction with Copilot. So it's really easy to share. You can share either a link to the page that you're working on in Copilot, or you can create a loop component from it, just an individual loop component for that page, and share that with people. And this is going to be inside your organization, so we still have all the security that we'd expect. But sometimes, you, like me, I like to try it out. I get excited, and I might have a lot of different pages. I'm going to show you what I think is the best way to interact with Copilot, how to get to that place, and how to even revisit past Copilot pages that you have. Because maybe you've used this a little bit, but you didn't realize you could share it, brainstorm ideas, use it during meetings, email it, use it in Teams. Because we're leaning on Microsoft Loop. I think it was a really good interaction to have those Loop component and Copilot work together like this for the collaboration part. So if you're not familiar with Loop, we've talked about that in previous webinars, and there's also other content and resources available. So we will touch on that a little. But why would you use Pages? I would say 3 main reasons. It's persistent, and what that means is that you can take that AI-generated content, and it's something that's reusable. It's backed up in the cloud in Microsoft 365, and you can easily share it. That's another big part. If you're working on a project and Copilot's helping you do that, if you can easily share with your team, it makes it a lot easier. And people are going to share different ways. So you could use the Microsoft 365 app and basically paste it, place it in a Teams chat or a post, in an Outlook email message. You can even do it in Word, for example. So I'll show you what those look like, and I've got a demo example, and I've even shared with Dan, who's on here as well with me, and we can kind of see what that looks like to have that, to have that multiplayer, as they're calling it, that multiplayer effect. So it's collaboration with your teammates. You can see everything that anyone's doing. And loop components, we're starting to see those everywhere for collaboration parts. For example, in a Teams meeting, if you have a recap or you have some meeting notes, you might have noticed the format's a little bit different. That's because it's using loop components. So let's jump right into a demo. I just wanted to do 5 minutes basically of letting you know what we're going to talk about and then a little bit of background. Now here, what I've done, I'm just going to start in this environment and kind of show you how I got here first, and then how we can use this panel on the side I'd encourage you to follow along if you have Copilot, the Microsoft 365 Copilot. This isn't the free one. This is the one that your work pays for. And I'll show you. If you expand that, you may or may not see some of the same things up here for agents. That's brand new. But recent chats. To get here, if you go to Microsoft365.com, which they recently changed the name, you may have noticed, to Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot. That's a brand new update. So if you go there, it's going to take you right away to where you need to go. You can click the Copilot icon, and it's going to bring you to that space. You could also just access the website. So however you like to get to Copilot, in this case, I'm using the browser. I'm going to click on the web. You can do work only, and that's certainly one way, but you're going to have different chats. Work is focused on things that are inside your organization, and then web will still do that, but it's going to reach out to other resources on the internet so that you can use those, comb through those, and decide what you want to do. So I have conversations with Copilot all the time about all sorts of different things. So I created one to show this. Please create a project overview. Now I can do some of this live, but I wanted to set it up ahead of time to show you how it is created and then how we can build on it and share it. So if we take a look, I just started out. Please create a project overview page for planning a team offsite in Vermont. So all of our team members from around the country would come and meet in Vermont. Include sections for event goals, a draft agenda, potential locations, and a task list for logistics. So I really want to think before I even use pages, if I want to be successful, make sure you're using your prompts as best you can. Tell it exactly what you want. Use appropriate context. I like to say please. I like to be extra polite. You don't have to. You can just say create a project overview and just use appropriate prompting technique. We've talked about prompting like a pro before, but really let it know your expectations. You're going to get a better result if you ask or use a better prompt. So just as an example, that's pretty straightforward. And it gives me this almost immediately. Sure, here's a project overview page for planning this. So it gives us a title, and of course it's got event goals, and it gave a bunch of bulleted items. It did exactly what I had asked for drafting an agenda. It's got some ideas, but of course we want to fine tune this. And Pages is going to be the place that we do that. So we've got 3 days, and this is all stuff Copilot made up. So I might be thinking, whoa, this isn't at all what I meant. I would then just redirect it with my prompts. But for demo, this is pretty good. So it gives some potential locations even. These are all great places. And a task list, just some ideas. Does this cover everything you had in mind? Let me know if there's anything you'd like to add or adjust. From here, so if you create a prompt, I'm actually going to show you that one. I'm going to copy paste it. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to do a new chat. And we'll just kind of recreate that so I can show you what it looks like live. So there we go. It's going through its things pretty fast. And actually it added the potential location that I was going to offer a suggestion to anyway, the Essex, which is a Vermont's culinary resort and spa, right? So this is good for team building activities. I thought, well, maybe we would do one and we would have a cooking class. So I started exploring that a little bit. But the idea is when we go and we actually type that in, it's going to give us an edit in Pages button. Okay, so these are our recent chats that we've had. And we can actually go and take a look at those. I'm going to go back to the previous one. I then continued. So one way, basically what this is showing me now is copy. And then we would have to previously paste into like Word, or if you use loop components, paste it in there or in an email and just kind of have that somewhere. I would just put them in a Word document. What it does is it creates this edit in Pages button. So you can add a response and make it editable in that page. So create this project overview. I'm going to do this one more time actually. where I go to the top. And if you do a new chat, it looks a little bit differently, so we'll do that again. So it's got all these great ideas, and it has certainly the past things that we've talked about. And here we go. Edit in Pages. So this is a new conversation. I'm just mimicking the previous one I had to show you. Edit in Pages, and check it out. Now I don't have to have that Word document like somewhere off to the side. It has this. You can see that Pages icon. And if I click on that, it's actually going to show me all of the previous pages, recent ones that I've done. So you could have several. So you can access those past ones. So what it does is it breaks it into these little sections. Like I can insert something below as if it's a loop component, because it kind of is. We just have to share it to really make it usable for others. So you can add things like a table or checklists, numbered list, callouts. There's so many different things here. I won't read them all, but you could make your document even better for navigation and readability using headings. You can take votes, Q&A. You can add people. Like I could add people this way. I'm going to scroll all the way down. You can add different media. You can pull in apps like Planner, create your own labels, things like that. Pretty amazing. I like it because it's going to put everything in there, and you can easily just delete and add stuff. And as you begin using this more, like add a budget section, I'm just going to click that for an example. If I click that, it'll give me more information. Sometimes it starts over, which is fine. It depends on how specific you want to be. I can choose Edit in Pages, and it just added it to the bottom. It adds additional stuff. So I can ask it to create a table or create task lists. There's all sorts of different things I can do with this. I'm going to go back to this other environment to show you. I've shared this with Dan, and I want to show you what it looks like when we... And I click up here on the open page. It's kind of hidden up there. There's Dan. There he is. I shared this with him previously, again, just to make sure everything would go smoothly. But I can see real time as he's clicking around, if he types, if he reacts, if he adds a new table or assigns tasks to people, those types of things are going to show up there. So if I click Edit in Pages, because here I asked for create a table from the task list for logistics, Edit in Pages, and it puts that down here on the bottom. From here I can click, and a lot of times I have different options depending on what types of columns I have in there. But I can do things like sort. I can sort details. I can delete. This is a really cool and intuitive way to work. Dan and I'll just speak from experience, have been using loop components and collaborating in this style for a lot of different things. And it's been helpful. It's reduced emails because you can say, hey, can you open this up and take a look? Or what have you worked on? You just go look. You could be on a Teams call and be working together at the same time. So I'm going to click there. Here's a better list of past pages that I've had. So I could say, please simplify this, or in Power Query, I had some questions about Power Query. What's the best way to merge these? Or let's work on my project. And I have different milestones and dates and different things within here. Now, anytime when you're using Pages, just click on any of the, like the speech bubble there, and you can react, and others can react. Like Dan, for example. Here's this accommodation part. These can also be moved around, deleted. And if you get in here and kind of move your mouse just a little bit, you'll be able to see a little better. But if you click open in detailed view, this is where you can add custom fields. I mean, this is super extensible. You could be very specific, or he just assigned me a task. I saw that pop up in real time. Now, let's just say I'm thinking, well, I don't really want to work. I've got all this stuff in here. I don't really want to work in this environment. I'm going to share this again. Click on that share icon. There's two choices if we want to share this and kind of reuse it with others like Dan. You can do a page link. So that's access to this page only. And what that's doing is basically creating a loop in the workspaces, like in the Loop app. I don't know if many of you have had a chance to use Loop, but if you click on the app launcher over on the top left, you'll see that as an app. And you can create workspaces and use different kind of subparts of that called components. So we can either share them the link and then they're brought to a browser and then they can interact with it. I'll kind of show you what that looks like this. And you can have different ways to work. I haven't really shared that yet. The other thing that we can do is copy component. So again, up here on the top, access to this page only or copy component. And what this does versus sending them a link is embed and then gives them access. So I'm going to click copy it. Just make sure you go to your settings and make sure that your settings are appropriate for whatever this content is. So you have three choices. People inside your organization, and you can't share these with people outside your organization, by the way. You could certainly copy, paste it, or make it a different document, but Loop components are just inside the org. So anyone with that link, people who have existing access, which Dan is the only person, or people you choose, and this is probably the most secure way. And then you can choose, can they edit or view? Well, we probably want them to edit. And then you can even set expiration dates if you want to. But here, only people with existing access. I'm going to reshare this with Dan. That's why I'm going to choose that one. Apply. Now, he knows how to do all this. He's very savvy. But if he asked me, like, hey, how do I get to that again? Can we do it in Teams? Sure. So I'm going to just open up this chat. And if I paste this into this Teams chat, I'll minimize these two. What we have is the Loop component inside of our Teams chat. Same exact thing as here. So wherever Dan is in there, so by team building, I can scroll and actually find where he is. It's exactly the same. So this is this digital moving canvas that we can pretty much take anywhere. We can both use it in the Copilot environment from the Microsoft365.com homepage. We can collaborate in a Teams chat if we want to. If I went into Teams and I created a post, and I pasted that Loop component in here, look, I can still see exactly like in real time where Dan's typing. So this is just a demo to show you, well, if you, or anybody is going to love Copilot because it provides so much information. But if you want to work with others, if they prefer working in the Loop app or in Copilot, that's okay. If they like to use the Teams channels, you can paste it there. But remember, I've only shared it with Dan, so that's why in the chat it was really easy. If I try to post this link, it's going to remind me, hey, some of the people in this channel don't have access. Do you want to give them access? I can choose that, and then that will give them permission. Then I can post it. And anybody else, and look, I can see Dan. So this could be in multiple channels, different chats, group chats. Very cool. Now, one more thing I wanted to show that you can do for the sharing part. I'm going to show you here. If I go to Outlook, let's say, and I create a new message, and I paste that Loop component in there. There it is. I can still see Dan's in there. He has it open, and I can see what he's working on. Pretty cool. Now, anywhere we're accessing this Loop component, I can mouse over the top right. I can see shared locations, and it tells me, well, it's open in this chat with Dan. It's a shared location here, and it gives this long URL. We can also copy that component if we wanted to paste it somewhere else, and it actually gives us this little link right there. So I can switch it to a link if it's too annoying to have. I'll click here on the Copilot or the loop icon. If it's too annoying to have the big thing in there like this, I like it because like then you just start working in the email. I haven't even sent it yet, and we're working on it. So you can either have the whole thing like that. You can see I'm in here twice actually. Or you'll see over on the top right, there's this little, it's hard to spot, conversion to just a link. And you can see it's a .loop. That's a new file format for that app in Microsoft. And again, inside the organization only though. So that's cool, being able to toggle between those. So I'm going to minimize that or close that out. And we're going to go back to our Copilot environment. And here we go. Look, Dan's still there. Within here, now I really liked using that first part where we're in Copilot. I'm going to click on the Copilot icon and show you. Because we're having this conversation, right? Go to that recent chat. At any time, I can go edit in Pages. So to get to these, go to Copilot and go to the recent chat you've been in, and then you can choose Edit in Pages, and it's going to show up this way. Or, I'll close that out, you can click up, kind of center to the right, Open Page. And that's going to work for us as well. Additionally, when you're inside here, sometimes I just delete those. You can highlight. There's 3 dots here, and you can do all sorts of different formatting things. Create comments. Create a link to that part. Of course, cut, copy, paste, and different headings. Comments. Comments are a great way to interact. I'm going to say any ideas on this at Dan.
One thing I really like about this, John, is that using loop components, if you're compiling like a bunch of different components, you can share them out with different people, but yet they'll all compile in your document. So you can paste these like in a Word document. I'm not sure, but I think you can even do it in a OneNote notebook now, so that you can have certain people kind of work on their section, but it all rolls back to your master if you kind of are the owner of all those components. So I haven't seen any particular questions come in, but certainly welcome any that our attendees today have.
Cool. I encourage you also, this is great for ideas, like I could say something like, I'd like to do a cooking class as a group activity. Any ideas? You can keep it simple. At the beginning, I was like, you gotta ask your prompt correctly, give that context and expectations. But sometimes if you just want to have a conversation with it, it can open up. Like sometimes if you ask something a little more vague, it'll like spark creativity, and that's I think one of the main points of having Copilot. It's not just to do the work for you. And Dan, I think you can attest to this or agree. Like a lot of times it just sparks our own creativity, because we may not have thought about it yet or something like that. But here's another example, and if you like what you see, you can just choose Edit in Pages, and it's going to add that right here on the bottom. And then if we don't like something, we can move it around and say, you know what, let's do that one on the top. And notice it renumbered for me. If I'm like, ooh, dessert making, everyone's going to love that. We'll move that to the top. And now that's number 1. So it's super smart.
You could ask it for particular recipes now, and it would enter in Copilot, copy and paste it over. So it just gives you that canvas where when Copilot first came out, it was that answer. So if you needed to work with that text, you'd have to copy it and put it somewhere. So nice update.
So we're going to do Can we include maple syrup? What pastries would be good? Gives a bunch of ideas. Now, it'll just continue to spark your creativity by giving suggestions for questions, and then you can always view prompts that might be helpful. If you want to refer to a document that you have already about it, you can actually go in and double click and say, oh, we want to access this document. It sends a copy to your OneDrive. It has to be in the cloud for it to read it, and then you can send that off. It'll actually comb that document for what you need. You can also ask it to look at websites. So if I say, please tell me more about the Essex, I think it's, I just put the website in there. Tells me more. I'm like, oh, that gets me thinking. We need to think about accommodations and what are flights like? What's the closest airport? It'll tell you all about Burlington Airport and things like that. So my point today in the 30 minutes was really to just quickly show you as much as possible about how Copilot's more than just asking something, having it give you the answer, and then taking it from there. If you want to collaborate with other people and get them going on your ideas, just by choosing edit in pages, it launches this basically loop component that you can then easily share as a page or component and then have people interact. And this was kind of cool to have Dan there in real time to be able to see that. But I encourage everybody to give this a try. Thank you, Dan, for...
Yeah, bet that one where you shared, for our audience, just picture you being in Outlook, right? And so that one that John kind of tagged me in on, that component is I'm in my inbox on me being able to make edits to that and click around. So
right, if it's somewhere you're already using Outlook, you're already in there. We can use that loop component and draft, but there's also the Copilot icon that you'll see within Outlook. And if you do that, you're still going to be able to get to those places that you need to get to.
Sean, one thing, and thanks for having us, Mike. One last thing, if you can throw up Outlook real quick.
Sure.
There is your. You don't have it on. You're in the browser. On the desktop, I have loop components on the left rail of my Outlook client.
Yes. It's identical to this.
Yep.
My Outlook won't launch, so that's why I went to the browser one. But it is the same. The new Outlook, actually, even the Outlook Classic now has that left rail with Copilot.
Yep.
Same thing with Teams. So again, hopefully this was helpful. I know we've run out of time here, but don't forget to just look on that left, find the things that you need, and then you can always go back to those. Click on pages, and there you go. You can start asking questions again. But thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dan, Brad, Mike, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, John and Dan. That's great information as always. As you guys were going through, I was kind of thinking through, different ways that VirtualIT can use this. And there are some obvious ones, like our project team creating some of the project outlines, like what you were showing us. But our sales team can be using it for collaborating on what the copy would be for our next marketing material, or ownership team using it to write policies and let everybody get in and make some changes. Just love the idea of adding Copilot to that team that you're collaborating with. But thank you guys all for joining us. As always, this webinar was recorded and will be added to our website in the coming days. We'll also be sending out a link to that as soon as it's uploaded, so be on the lookout for that. Also, keep an eye out for the announcement for our next webinar, Copilot for Excel. We'll be sending out that information soon. We still have to solidify the date, but we'll get that out as soon as possible. Also want to remind everyone that our previous webinars are located on the resources page of our website. I know John mentioned at one point, some of the information that we covered in our intro to Copilot webinar from a few months ago, and you can go and find that on that page. With that, we'll let you get back to the rest of your day. appreciate you all joining us today and hope to see you at the next webinar, Copilot for Excel. Have a great day, everyone.